Well, hey there, and welcome to Victory Church Online. We are so grateful that you took the time, carved out 30 minutes or 45 minutes to spend time with the Lord. Whether you were at service with us this past Sunday and something really just clicked and you wanted to re-listen to the message, or you were just unable to attend for whatever reason, we are glad that you are here. So get those notes out, get the Bibles ready, grab your coffee, grab your afternoon coffee, whatever it is, and get ready for a word from God.
Are you excited to be in the house of the Lord this morning? Well, half of you are. What about the other half of you? Has God ever done anything for you? You know, man, I refuse to come into God's house less than excited about who He is. I mean, just the fact that we know who God is lets us know that anything is possible. Anything is possible. You might have come in today carrying the weight of the world, but I could tell you this, His hands are a lot stronger than yours. Give it to Him today. If you walked in today feeling the regret of your past, I could tell you this, it goes away at the moment that you meet Him at the cross, and it goes just that fast. You know, I'm so excited because when God's involved, not only is anything possible, but He allows me to partner with Him to make it so. What would happen if you partnered with God? What would happen if you actually signed up to partner with God? I'm not talking about Dream Team. I'm talking about your life. I'm talking about who you are, who God made you to be. What would happen if you partnered with God to be everything He created you to be? I could tell you this, you will not be disappointed. You can't be disappointed because His plans are so much better than yours. His thoughts are so much higher than yours. Everything that He does is better than what we can do. And when we partner with Him and He starts to use us, man, the possibilities are endless. Today, we're going to step into another story during this series that we're doing called Flannel Board Jesus. Last week, we talked about Daniel. This week, we're going to step in to one of the funnest stories I think there are in the entire Bible, the story of Esther. The story of Esther. Now, I love the story of Esther, and here's the biggest reason why, is because I see a lot of principles here that if we apply them in the right way, we can actually do something that changes the entire world around us. Anybody want to change the world around you? I mean, are you ready to see what's around you change? Anybody? Anybody tired of living held down? Listen, I'm going to keep prodding you until somebody gets ready for this. Okay? I spend 60 hours a week putting this kind of stuff together, man. You got to give me a little more than woo. Because see, here's the big thing. It rides on your expectation, not on mine. He's doing it in my life. Do you want Him to do it in yours? See, that's the difference is when you respond to the Word of God, it starts to take root and action in your life. When you place expectation on God for anything in His Word, it becomes the breeding ground for your miracle. Anybody want a miracle? Anybody need a miracle? Well, you better get your expectation ready. You should be on the edge of your seat going, come on, man, give me something to use. Give me anything to use. You got to get hungry because when you get hungry, then you get filled. You ever go to a buffet and fast all day before you get there? That's how I do it. There's this little spot up the road called Senzetti's. That's not real Italian food, but it's good food. I try not to eat for like 2 days before I go in there. Because when I go in there, they want to kick me out. I had a friend in college, we used to go to the all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet. He used to get kicked out. That guy used to get so mad. My buddy was a bodybuilder. He ate like 6,000 to 7,000 calories a day, and I mean, like he would just pound the food, and we'd be in there 2-3 hours. My buddy would just keep eating. This guy would be like, no more. No more. You eat too much, he would always say. And he'd say, you go home now. We'd go back to the dorm with a doggy bag, you know. I love those days. I remember those days of just being so hungry you were never quite full. Amen. I feel that way about God. There's just something about Him that just makes me hungry, that makes me want more. that makes me want to pull on something and see where it takes me. And I just want to fall in love with him in a new way, in a real way. And so let's get into this story, because there's some love in this story too. And so let's take a look at this. Now, we're going to start out with our king, because our king, he's kind of a fancy guy here. Now this, hi baby. So this is King Ahasuerus. King Ahasuerus. Now, he's an interesting fellow. He's a trendy king, okay? Now, what I mean by a trendy king is he's the party king. He likes to be dressed just so. He likes to throw a good party. As a matter of fact, we're in the third year of his reign in Babylon, and it says that he began the year with a 180-day party. I'm talking the equivalent of Fashion Week, the Met Gala, and Coachella, all wrapped up into one, okay? And he's throwing these parties. Now, he liked to throw parties so much. They give a description of this in Esther chapter 1 that talks about the simple fact that when he throws this party, that he creates a marble floor in his garden, y'all, where there are 7 different kinds of precious stones. Some of you ladies might even be wearing them in a ring or a necklace right now. And he made the floor out of it so he could put his couches made of gold and purple linen on top of them for people to recline as they party. They said that there was so much wine in excess at his parties that there was not a single goblet made that looked identical to the other, made of pure gold. This is the way this dude threw a party. Okay? At the end of a 180-day party, he throws a 7-day feast to end it. That's where we're picking up the story. On the 7th day, your boy's feeling pretty good. The Bible says that he is high in spirits. I think we all know what that means. He's hanging out there, and he decides he's going to call. Now, his wife, Queen Vashti, is somewhere else in the palace throwing a banquet for the ladies on her own. And he says to one of his servants, go get Queen Vashti and bring her in here in her royal garments and her crown so that they may look upon her. The Bible says that she was really nice to look at. You know what that means? She was gorgeous. Coming in there in her robes and her thing, and everything's set up. And he says, bring her in here so everybody can see that my wife is prettier than theirs. That's the guy we're dealing with. Now, Queen Vashti, she sent back an answer, and it wasn't her coming. It was, not coming. Not going to let you parade me around. Not going to be your toy. Not going to be your pony in the front of the parade. Not coming in there so all you drunk fools can take a look at me. I'm not doing it. Anybody ever respond to their husband that way? We'll take care of that after service. Okay, now listen. Just kidding. But he was so angry, the Bible says. So angry that he banished her forever. Never saw her again. And after several months of fuming, just being angry, he sends out this proclamation telling the people why she could never come back. Because all the guys that were his advisors said, listen, man, you got to tell the people she's gone because she didn't listen. Because our wives were in that party, and we want them to listen, and they're going to do what she did if she did that to you. So they send out this big proclamation, said Vashti's never coming back. And after a few months, he starts to remember Vashti, and he gets lonely. You know why? Because every bullheaded man in here knows, man, after a while, you run your mouth and your anger subsides, and you realize that woman was right all along. But he can't take her back. Not now. He's the king. He already wrote a proclamation. See, remember last week when we talked about Daniel, in the law of the Medes and the Persians, if a proclamation is written and put in writing and sealed with the king's signet, it cannot be altered or changed. And so she's a goner. And then his advisors say, well, it's all right. We can fix this, king. What we're going to do is go out to all the provinces of the region, and we're going to gather together the most beautiful girls, all of them. Look at them all. They're all beautiful. Here they are. And we're going to give you a good look at them, king. You ready? Take a look. The smartest ones, the most talented ones, the best looking ones. And we're going to bring them all to the palace, and we're going to give them a year's worth of beauty treatments. The Bible talks about these treatments. You want to talk about a spa now. We in the spa. Okay? It said that they would bathe them in perfume. I wouldn't like that. You know, I got allergies and stuff, you know. You be showing up in here smelling like a whole field full of flowers, man. I'm going to be sneezing all over you. We ain't going to have no fun. But here they come, they're out there, and all these beautiful girls are coming around, and we start to see that through this search, we get a whole entire group of these ladies. But see, I want to introduce you to a few other players in this because, see, there's this guy named Mordecai. Now, I love Mordecai because I think Mordecai is one of the greatest men of God that we can read about in the Bible. This is Mordecai, and he's a good man. And the Bible talks about Mordecai in glowing terms in this sense that Mordecai is a Jew. He's been carried away from Jerusalem into Babylonian exile during the days of King Nebuchadnezzar. Does that name sound familiar? Same guy that brought Daniel over to Babylon, right? And so all of this story is connected to the other one. See, your Bible's connected. Everything in there connects to another thing. And so what we get to see here is that Mordecai was a good man who served in the king's gate. He was Secret Service, only he didn't let the guy he was protecting get shot. Okay? And so this guy, he kept an eye on the king. Some of y'all get that later. So there's this watchful eye. He's looking out for the king. He's always got his back. Half the time because the king's having a little too much fun. And this dude's over here just getting his back. He's watching out for him, and he's making sure that whoever comes through that gate belongs in that place. And he's watching out for him. But at the end of this, we see that Mordecai has a cousin whose name is Esther. And he adopted her as his own daughter when her parents died. And so he raised her from the time she was very young. And the Bible says that she was very lovely and beautiful. You know what that means? That means that she was as pretty on the inside as she was on the outside. One version even goes so far as to say this, that her internal beauty matched the beauty of her figure. Wow. Talk about shooting high. That's some high standards. This girl's a cut above the rest. And as they're talking about her, we get to see that she gets taken into the palace with all of the other lovely women of the day. And as this young women are taken in there, they're all put under the leadership of a chief eunuch named Haggai. Now, Haggai is in charge of making sure that they're ready to meet the king. Okay? And this is no small feat because they've got to go in there. They've got to be ready for the palace. But what we see in Esther chapter 2, it says that Esther pleased and obtained Haggai's favor, so he readily gave beauty preparations to her beyond the allowance given to everyone else. See, when God is preparing you for something, he will provide more than your fair share. He'll cause people to sow into you beyond what they're willing to do for others because of the way you're living is pleasing him. She was excellent, so she found favor. She had favor, and more became available to her. See, there is a cyclical level of blessing that comes on someone with an excellent spirit. We read this same thing about Daniel last week, didn't we? Daniel was excellent in everything that he did, and God promoted him. Excellence attracts blessing. See, we have to understand that as the people of God, that if we don't have an excellent spirit, if we're not operating in excellence, what tends to happen is that we don't find the favor of God. And when we don't have the favor of God on us, what happens is, see, because the favor of God is not for us, it's for the people around us to show God's glory, that they might be attracted to him. See, the favor on your life is the bug light that's going to attract your lost family and friends until they come to know him. That's what favor does. And the more excellent you are with what God gives you, the more favor he puts on your life. And the more favor he puts on your life, the more expectation comes for God to move. If you want to move in God's favor, you have to be excellent. She was so excellent that the Bible says this about Haggai. He loved her so much that he gave her 7 choice handmaidens from the palace just to serve her. And he kicked out royal members of the family and gave her the best room in the house for her and her servants. You want to talk about somebody got picked up off the street, got taken in. I mean, this is a made-for-TV movie, isn't it? I mean, this is the good stuff. This is Aladdin finding the lamp. There he is. I'm not going to dance for you. But there's something so special about this story. And see, here's the thing. These women are all trying to have status. They all want something. They want to be queen. But she just walked in excellence, the Bible said, and found the favor of the one who was leading her. See, when we really walk into this, we really get to see this, though. Mordecai's pacing outside. Every day it said he would pace outside trying to get word of how she was doing and to learn of her welfare. See, Mordecai was the one who imparted that spirit of excellence to her. And he's out there in the courts and he's pacing and he's praying and he's covering her and sending her messages, giving her godly advice, making sure she's staying true to who she is. That's the aspect of Mordecai that really does something for me. So now it's time for Esther to go in and encounter the king. Now let's take a look at this. We got the king here. We got Esther. But see, this is what happens. She's so great. The Bible says that he loves her more than any other woman he's ever met. And he's so impressed with her, see, because when they went in, they were allowed to take anything they wanted. Okay? So they could take something that showed a skill. They could take a book and read it for the king. They could come in and sing for him or dance for him or do whatever else might impress him. And this is what she did. She went to Haggai and said, "What would you tell me to take in before the king?" Because it wasn't about her. It was about him. See? And she took only what Haggai told her to take in. And it said that every person that put eyes on her favored her and saw her above anyone else. Can you imagine walking in that kind of favor? You walking into work on tomorrow morning, just walking in and your boss is like, "Man, I don't remember even seeing you before, but I like you." All your co-workers are sitting around, normally messing around and talking bad about each other. But every time you leave the room, they're like, "Man, he's just so nice. I don't know how to say anything negative about him. He's just such a good person. How could you speak ill of him?" And could you imagine living with that kind of excellence, that kind of favor, that every room that you walk into, favor was already there, and every room you walk out of, it just kind of stayed behind you, and people spoke well of you in rooms you weren't in? See, that spirit of excellence, that's what gets you promoted. It's not your skill set. Because remember, God rarely uses the qualified, but he qualifies a heart willing to serve him and bring him glory. See, it's not about us. It's about what we carry. And when we carry the glory goes in and it stays like a residue. And that's what Esther brought into the throne room to have her moment with this king. And the king looked upon her and said, "There's not another one in the entire kingdom like her." And it says she obtained grace and favor in his sight. That spirit of grace covers any blemish that was there. That grace made her queen. And so he put the crown on her head and she became queen instead of Vashti. Now, I need Mordecai to come back out here because, see, this is what happens. Mordecai continues to work in the gates of the king as a special person to the king. He's watching out for him. And Mordecai sits at the gate and he's watching and protecting the king before people could come in. And as Mordecai is out there, he hears two of the king's soldiers, his doorkeepers, conspiring to kill him. They're furious with the king. Apparently the king said something he shouldn't have said. And so here, Mordecai tells Esther, and Esther tells the king, and she credits Mordecai, and it's written in the book of the Chronicles of the Medes and the Persians. Now, that's going to be important later on in just a few minutes, so put that in your back pocket and just think about that. What he did was recognized, even though Esther was the one that told him. And then we get to meet this other guy. Okay, so this is Haman. And Haman, yeah, go ahead. Last week we kind of said, whoa, this is that guy. They all look the same, don't they? And this guy he thinks he's pretty awesome. And so he is promoted to second in command over the entire kingdom. And all the king's servants bowed to show homage to Haman, but Mordecai refused to bow. Okay? Now this infuriates him, man. Haman becomes so enraged by this man not bowing down and showing honor to him as the docent to the king that he not only wants to destroy Mordecai, but every Jew within the realm, he wants them all destroyed and annihilated. So Haman, he decides, yep, I'm going to come up with a great idea. I'm going to cook this guy's goose, and I'm going to cook every other goose in the kingdom with it. And so he goes in before the king, and he says, "O king, live forever." Remember that phrase? If it seems good to you, can I tell you of a people who are in your kingdom who neither follow your laws nor your commands? He said, they're a dangerous people because they don't do what you do. They don't live like you live. They don't talk like you talk. They don't look like you look. See, they're different, and that makes them dangerous. And so what would be better than allowing them to continue to be who they are? Because honestly, the Bible talks about the fact that the Jews were the best workers and the best artisans within Babylon at the time. This is a lie. It's a complete lie. But he says, King, if they don't honor you, they don't deserve to live. And so my proposal is this. We should write a decree from you to all the provinces and tell them that on December the 15th, in the 12th month, on the 15th day, Merry Christmas, all the Jews are going to be annihilated. And the king says this. He says, okay. And he goes, King, just to make it even better, because I believe in this so much, I'll pay 10,000 pieces of silver into your treasury when the job is done. The king takes off his ring with the signet on it, hands it to him, and says, do whatever seems good to you with the people and the money. And that's where we land in this moment. Mordecai leads everybody in prayer and fasting. See, Mordecai finds out, and he tears his clothing instantly, puts on sackcloth and ashes on his head, and he begins to fast and leads all of the Jewish people in prayer and fasting, in weeping and mourning over the declaration, because they know it cannot be changed or altered. As soon as they wrote it and put that thing on there, it was there forever. Could you imagine? No grace, no trial, no chance of this being overturned. You get no appeal. This has to happen. And so Mordecai is weeping, and he's out there, and this is what happens. Esther finds out that Mordecai is sitting outside at the gate, and she sends clothing to him to take him away from his sackcloth, but he refuses. And Esther sends her most trusted servant to him and says, find out what's really going on. And Mordecai tells him everything that Haman has done and gives him a copy of this written decree that he could take it back and explain it to her. But here's Esther's dilemma. See, we gotta bring this out, because there's something about what he's asking her to do that makes this all the more important. Let's get the king on his throne out here, and let's show everybody what that looks like. Now listen. See this thing in his hand? See this thing between him and her, this right here? That, my friends, is a golden scepter. Now you have to understand that to go into the king's inner court is off limits unless he calls you there. And if you show up in his courts without having been called, unless he extends that scepter to you, you're gone. Not later, not tomorrow, that moment you're executed. Okay? So that kind of power is on the king and on this moment and what he's asking. And he tells Esther, you've got to go in and make supplication with the king and try to get him to stop this from happening. And Esther realizes that this is going to be instant death unless he extends this golden scepter. And she sends back a notice to Mordecai and says, listen, man, not only is this a bad idea, he hasn't even called me in to see him in 30 days. Every husband in the room's like, you can do that? 30 days. He hasn't seen this woman or called her in to his courts. Are you kidding me? I would miss you, baby. I would. But 30 days, that means he's almost forgotten about her at this point. There's other more important things going on, and this is serious business. And she sends this reply to Mordecai of all the things and reasons why she can't do it. Now listen, here Mordecai's call to her rings with a greater purpose. And see, this is where Mordecai comes in and speaks to who she is, the call of God on her life, and what's really on the inside of her, and calls it forward into manifestation. He says, look, God's going to deliver his people and allow them to continue in some way. He's going to do that. But don't think for a minute you have a better chance of escaping because you live in the palace. You're a Jew too. Don't get comfortable in the king's house and think just because you're in the king's house, you don't have to do what he's called you to do. How many Christians do that? How many of us walk into this building, into God's house, and sit and get comfortable? And when the moment comes that we have to stand up and do something that God's called us to do to affect or change the lives of other people around us, we go, hey man, it's cool. I mean, there's nothing I can really do. I'm not really that gifted. I'm not really that talented. Someone else can do it. Someone else can try to do it. And Mordecai says, man, don't fool yourself. Don't get comfortable in the house of the king. There is more to this than that. And he says, while there might be deliverance that arises from another place, you and your family's house will be destroyed over this because they start in the palace. But then he follows it up with this. Might be one of my favorite lines in the entire Bible. He said, but who knows that you might have been called to the kingdom for such a time as this. Right now, it's your moment. It's your moment to stand up. And so we get to see, he's not saying, look, we have no way of knowing what's going to happen, but look, there's a better than average chance God put you in this moment with a purpose. So he tells her, just do what got you there. Be excellent. Stand with integrity, even if it costs you something personally. If you deliver your people, if you deliver the ones that God has called you to protect, then surely God is going to do a move that no one else can counter. But it's up to you to be who God has called you to be. See, there are people in this world that are waiting, if not dying, for you to be who God's called you to be. There are people attached to your life who you are, that God has trusted you to have the right word in due season, to stand up at the right time, to apply your gift at the right time in order that he can move and bring deliverance to their life. See, if we sit by and try to watch somebody else might come into their path, but it's probably not going to have the same power or authority that your words would have or your actions would have, because you've been in their life longer. I can't let my friends and family go to hell. I just can't. It keeps me up at night, man. It bothers me to think that any one of you sitting in this room would walk out of this room and not have met Jesus because I got near you. Because you know what? That's the one goal and purpose of my entire life. And every moment of every day when I wake up, I just pray this simple prayer. God, if you would use me to do something that no man could take credit for, I'll make sure you get credit when the time comes. God's done some miracles in my life. I could tell you some stories about how I got my first jobs in television that would blow your mind. From praying that prayer on the way and showing up, walking in, 5 minutes later, double booking an internship. I got to work for ESPN for my internship, covering the PGA Tour. It was so cool. I was supposed to pull television cables like this across the golf course all day. That was my whole job, and I couldn't have been more excited about doing it, right? I got there. I showed up 30 minutes early. 30 minutes. I thought I was being an overachiever. They double booked my internship. The other guy got there 45 minutes early and was already out there doing the job. They looked at me and said, hey, man, like, we can't have too many people. And the guy kind of had pity on me. Now, I prayed that prayer on the way in. He said, look, just go over there, sit in the corner, and just wait. Sit in one of them chairs. We'll see if we can find something else for you to do. I said, okay. You know, I'm sitting over there, I'm praying. I'm like, God, you know, I told you I'm going to get you some glory today. I told you I'm here for you, not for me. I don't want to be on TV. I just want to be around what you're doing and the action. And man, there's got to be some divine appointment today. Somebody needs this. And I know you're shifting this in my favor because you promised me you work all things together for good to those who love you and are called according to your purposes. So I'm just going to hang out. But while I'm hanging out, I just want you to know I'm anticipating your move. I'm anticipating what you can do in this moment. I lied to you not. The lady, you ever watch Monsters, Inc.? You know that lady that sits in the cage, Mike Wazowski. You know who I'm talking about. What's her name? Roz. The human embodiment of that woman walked into the room. She looks at me, she goes, who are you? It doesn't even matter, follow me. And she's walking through the room and I'm like, she goes, I'm not going to ask again. I'm like, okay. I get up, I follow her. She takes me in this room, sits me in this thing, all these lights and a camera. They're taking my picture. I'm like, whoa, this ain't pulling cables. She comes out of there with this badge on a lanyard that says all access, all places, all times. I'm going, come on now. This could be good. She says, come with me. She puts me on a golf cart. She drives me down to the 18th fairway on Radio and Television Row. She walks me into a green tent. She goes, that's Bob, that's Jay. Get acquainted. I'll be back. And she walks out. And I'm looking at Bob stinking Costas from Me to You Away, Alok. Me to You Away. Jay Randolph, one of the greatest broadcasters in history. I mean, I had these dudes' pictures on my wall. I wanted to do what they do. And they're there, and she says, get acquainted. You want to talk about favor and access coming on you because you pray a prayer? There's something that comes on you in a moment that God can do something to change and shift in a moment. I'm there for the week, hanging out, eating lunch with Bob Costas. I mean, dude, I come home, I didn't even have to drive. I could have flew. I was so fired up. On Saturday afternoon, one of the golfers, he falls over, he collapses on the tee box, one of the fairways. They have an ambulance come out on the course and take him to the hospital. It's a big thing. Now I'm there, I'm an intern, I'm line producing. I'm feeding these guys stats. I'm just doing all this. Well, the mean lady walks in, she goes, go over to the clubhouse, take the recorder, put it on the thing. Don't talk to anybody. I said, okay. So the guy came back that had collapsed. He's doing a news conference, not taking any questions. Put the thing on the desk. Sit in the back of the room. Shut your mouth. Listen to him talk. Go up, get the recorder, take it back so they have audio to play on the show. That was my job. I'm sitting back there in the back of the room, and he talks about something that I had just been healed from. I had a tachycardia in my heart. The electrical system was firing, and it made my heart beat so much faster than it should. It feels like you're having a heart attack and riding a roller coaster at the same time. It's an awful feeling, and some people have it so bad that they pass out. And that's what he had, and he's sitting there. And the Lord told me, he said, go up there and tell that man that I healed you from that, and he could do it too. And he doesn't have to worry about dying or not being there for his family because it's not going to take his life. Go tell him that. I said, I ain't allowed. The mean lady's going to yell. God said you wanted something miraculous to happen that you couldn't take credit for. You go up there and say what I tell you to say. I said, okay, but you got to handle the mean lady. See, Haman's always hanging around. So I go up there. I walk up to a professional golfer, all at 19 years old. I walk up to him. I said, sir, he said, kid, I'm not taking any questions. I said, I don't want to ask any questions. I don't want to ask anything at all. He said, what do you want? I said, I was sitting in the back. I was praying for you. And the Lord told me to tell you that this isn't going to take your life. And he healed me from this very thing. And he'll do the same thing for you. And you're going to be there for your wife and your children. You don't have to fear this. This isn't going to end you. And listen, if you got questions about it or you need somebody to talk to, pray for you, I know you're on the road away from home. I'll buy you dinner, man. We could go have dinner and I'll talk to you about it. He chuckled a little bit. He goes, you want to buy me dinner? I said, yeah. I said, where you like Olive Garden? He goes, is that a fact? I said, yes, sir. I said, can I pray for you? He said, right now? Like right here? He's looking around. I said, yeah, right here. He healed me. He'll heal you. I said, you feel that thump in your chest right here and it comes up in your throat and you feel it right here? Yeah, right now I do. I said, let me pray for that. Lay my hands on him. I said, in the name of Jesus, I command this electrical system in his heart to fire properly. Everything out of rhythm, come into the rhythm of heaven. I started to pray for this man's deliverance. Commanded him to be healed in Jesus' name. Pled the blood over his life. He goes, man, I don't feel any of that anymore. This is crazy. I said, man, that's God working in your life. He said, that's truly me. I said, you have a great day. I took my recorder and went to walk away. He goes, hey, kid, you want an interview? I said, well, yeah, let me go get the people. I'll go get the people. So, man, I hop on this golf cart. I heard the Lone Ranger theme song going off in my head. Right? I'm over there. I walk in. I'm like, guess what? David Tom's giving us an exclusive. We got it. Nobody else is getting this interview. You know, the mean lady gets on the golf cart. Bob Costas gets on his golf cart. We're driving back over there to the clubhouse to do the interview. We walk in. They're getting set up. Mean lady tries to talk to him. He goes, ma'am, the kid's doing the interview. She goes, he's an intern. The only thing he's allowed to interview is a menu. I went, that doesn't even make sense. He said, I don't think you appreciate the gravity of the situation. The kid does the interview, or you don't get one. The greatest broadcaster in America is sitting in the seat, and they have to go over there and tell him to get up so I can sit down. I sit down in that seat. Never did an interview with anybody like this before. She looks at me before the interview starts. She goes, you screw this up, you'll never work again. She walks away. I do this interview. My first interview ever, 19 years old, an intern, not even allowed to be on TV. I'm doing this interview. It airs in 120 countries in 17 languages on 93 different networks. Little old me, looking all baby faced, no beard, looking all like, right? Deer in the headlights, did this interview. Man, they come in and they go, one of the executives from the network calls and goes, who's the kid? She goes, you wouldn't believe me if I even told you. She looked over at me. She goes, how'd you get that interview? My voice is starting to hurt. I can't keep doing that. I said, I prayed a prayer. I told God if he would use me to do something miraculous, that I'd give him all the glory and the credit. I couldn't be here if it wasn't for him. She goes, whatever. And she walks away. But that man's life completely changed. I saw him on a golf course 2 years later. He goes, miracle kid. How you doing, man? His whole family got saved. Going to church. Living for Jesus. Making millions of dollars a year on a golf course. You know what that means? A tithing man. Building the kingdom. Other people's lives are being changed. Why? Because one moment of obedience will put you in a position for God to move in ways that you can't fathom or wrap your head around. You think I could have ever had an idea that something like that could happen? Absolutely not. It's impossible to even think it. And here we go. She walks in. She gets all dolled up. See, she calls for a 3-day fast. Where'd she learn that? From Mordecai. She said, you get the whole nation of Jews to fast for me for 3 days. Me and my maidservants will do the same thing. And after 3 days, I'll put on my royal robes and my crown, and I'll go into the king. And if I die, I die. That's determination. I think it was Martin Luther King Jr. who said it this way: if a man has not found something he's willing to die for, he's not fit to live. Amen. She found the moment. She went before him. She didn't even get to the inner courts. She was out here in the outer courts. And it said, the Bible says that he saw her and great favor fell upon his heart. And he extended the scepter to her to come in from the other room. And he kept it extended until she came into the room and she put her hand on the end of it. Now, understand this. This is the highest level of invitation, the rarest, most ultimate exchange of favor and receiving favor that could possibly happen in this time. By keeping it extended and drawing her in to his proximity, he was pulling her into the highest level of his authority. And he says this: what do you ask of me? I'll give you anything, up to half the kingdom. Half the kingdom. You think he likes her? And she requests a more intimate place of exchange. She doesn't come right out with it and blurt it all out. This dude Haman, he's trying to kill my whole family. Some of us just start spouting off any person that asks us what's wrong. Well, you know, my mother said this, and my daddy did this, and these people at work, they're outrageous, and you're going to have the fruit of your mouth, I promise. Your words are seeds. She doesn't ask for anything, doesn't blurt anything out. She just says this: I'm going to cook a banquet for you. I want you to bring your friend Haman, and I'm going to put on the best spread you ever saw. Would you come tonight? So the king and Haman, they show up, and she cooks them this great banquet. They've eaten and everything, and the king asks her again. He really wants to bless her. He says, what do you ask of me, Queen Esther? Anything up to half the kingdom. Here's how she replies. She says, would you both just come back tomorrow night and let me cook for you again? I'll put on a better spread than this one. That's pretty awesome. Now, here comes old Haman. And he's going to walk out. Now, he's feeling pretty good. He just spent the whole night with the king and the queen, right? And he's walking out the palace gates. Now, remember what I told you about what was going on between Haman and Mordecai. They said, ain't no way, ain't no how. I'm not bowing down to anybody but God or the king, right? He's walking out feeling pretty high and mighty right now. Here he goes walking by. Everybody else in the gate bows down to your boy Haman. And here's Mordecai standing up going. It so enrages him that he goes home. He calls his evil wife. I mean, his wife is evil, man. Hanging out. Calls in all his friends, says, look how the king's promoted me. Look at all my riches. Look at all my little evil children running around here, acting up. And I got more power than anybody in this realm but the king himself. And this man won't bow down to me. And his wife goes, I've got an idea. Why don't you build a gallows 50 cubits high? That's 75 feet. Out in the front yard. And hang him on it. Go into the king tomorrow in the morning. Be the first person he sees and ask him to hang Mordecai on those gallows. And this is what the Bible says about it. It says that he went away and ordered it to be built with giddy pleasure. That's an evil dude. That's an evil dude. So what happens? The king's there and he can't fall asleep. He can't sleep. And so he calls in one of the scribes to read the book of Chronicles to him while he's there, to learn more of the history of what's happened in the kingdom. And while he's reading through, in the early morning hours, they read where Mordecai saved the life of the king by thwarting the plan for his assassination. And he stops them from reading and he says it like this. He says, hey, what has been done for him to reward him for his actions? And the scribe looks, reads, and looks, reads. Nothing. See, you can't get mad when you do something for God and the reward doesn't show up the next day. Because there's a timing in God, see? There's a timing that puts you in place to receive it when you're ready to carry it. And he says, well, that won't work. What should we do? And he said, who's in the outer court? And your boy Haman just walked in. And he said, call him in here. And here comes Haman. Oh, king, live forever. He's about to ask him to kill Mordecai. And that's the guy he just got done reading about. And he said, what should be done for the man that the king loves to honor? Now, this guy's so full of himself, he thinks the king's talking about him. And says, well, surely, let me think up something good here. He said, you know what we should do, king? He said, you should give him a purple robe of royalty that you have worn already and a gold chain around his neck. And you should give him your very own horse with the royal crest on it. And you should get one of the most esteemed princes in all of the realm to lead the horse around the city and proclaim, thus is what's done to the man the king loves to honor. He said, great, that's an awesome idea. Go get Mordecai, do all that for him. Come on, man, that's so sweet. Here goes Haman. Well, this is the guy the king loves to. He has to parade him through the whole city, giving him this honor. The Bible says that he is so depressed that he goes home hiding his head in dishonor and anger. And one of his advisors, one of his friends goes, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, he's a Jew, bro. You ain't gonna win. They summon him to go to the next banquet. Now take a look at this. He's gonna go to this banquet. There we go. There it is. Okay, now they're all sitting, they're hanging out, they're having dinner. Haman's a little depressed, but he's living it up. He's living large. He's hanging out with the top guy, right? And they have this meal, and they're sitting there, and the meal's finally concluding, and he looks at his wife, and he says, Queen Esther, what can I give you? What is your request? Up to half the kingdom. And she answers him this way, and I think this is so important. This is Esther chapter 7, verse 3. It says, if I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it pleases the king, let my life be given me at my petition and my people at my request. For we have been sold, my people and I, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated. Had we been sold as male and female slaves, I would have held my tongue, although the enemy could never compensate for the king's loss. So King Ahasuerus answered and said to Queen Esther, who is he? Where is he who would dare presume this in his heart to do such a thing? And Esther said, that adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. So Haman was terrified before the king and queen. You want to talk about getting called out? King gets so mad. He's so full of rage. He goes out into that fancy garden, fuming. While he's out there, Haman is so scared, begging for his life. He throws himself across to Esther's lap and is begging for his life. The irony. King comes back in with an idea of what he wants to do, sees Haman touching his wife and goes, you're going to assault the queen and I'm in the house? And this is how you know nobody else in the palace liked this dude. One of his bodyguards throws a hood over his head. Doesn't even get asked. Whoop, and goes, hey, king, check this out. Look at that gallows that he found for Mordecai over there. He goes, hang him on it. And they don't just put him on it. They put his evil wife on there. They put all his little baby's kids on there. Everybody gets hung on those gallows that he decided he was going to put Mordecai on. And see, here's the thing. This story isn't just something that we look at and go, okay, yeah, this is a great story about Esther. See, without Mordecai, none of this stuff goes down. You see, because he raised her with excellence. He taught her how to fast. He saved the life of the king. He was the one behind the scenes that called and pulled on the call of God and pulled that out of her so that she could take her moment and make it what God had called it to be. You know, this morning I look around this room and I go, are you a Mordecai? God saved you. He delivered you. He bought you with a price. He gave you a call. But are you doing that for anyone else? Is there anyone in your life that you look at and go, man, I could be this for them, but I'm just too scared to say anything. I'm just too intimidated to open my mouth. And see, here's the thing. God's looking to promote his people, but he's looking to promote Mordecais who are unselfish and are using their gifts to position Esther's. There's never been a time like this. Never. I mean, has there ever been a day like today? Has there ever been a moment in history that looks like this moment? These people, this church, this job, this family, these friends, this country. The combination's unmistakable. Every aspect of life adds up to this moment. And you're the intersection between the God of our lives, the object of our worship, the source of love, peace, and power in our lives, and the people we love the most. It's you. Salvation and eternity is on the line. Some live, some die, but everyone will stand before the King. The difference is you. You were born for such a time as this. Right now, this moment. What are you going to do with your moment? What are you going to do with when eternity is on the line? What is all of history going to say about you and your legacy for your family? Will you be the one that steps up and calls an Esther to the forefront? What if you stood in the gates of the King and orchestrated someone else's encounter with him? What would that look like if the King had your yes? You know, I think back to when we got the opportunity to move to Colorado and we looked at those moments, and Kristen kept telling me, she said, I just feel like God's saying Tulsa. I had moved back from Tulsa. I didn't want to go to Tulsa ever again. There's tornadoes there. I didn't like it there at all. It was violent. It was hot. It was humid. The people weren't even that friendly. I mean, it was just not a great place to live. I said, baby, you got to get it. She said, I don't know. God didn't tell me anything else. He just keeps saying Tulsa. I said, you better get a better word than that if I'm going to go to Tulsa. I don't want to go there. Golf ball, baseball size hail falling on your car. I'm a car guy. I like cars. I don't want my car getting all tinted up. I don't want to go back there, God. We're praying, we're believing God to do something amazing in our lives, to take us to the next thing that God had called us to. And on one particular day, I went and I threw myself on the altar in my prayer time. And I said, God, if you want us to go to Tulsa, I'll go to Tulsa. But you got to tell me what it is you want me to do and take me there. I said, just know this, I'm going for you, not for me. That same day, our one heart's desire was to come and move to Longmont and pastor with Kristen's daddy. That was all we wanted to do. Guess what? Her dad calls me on the phone. He goes, it's been a unanimous vote from our board, from our staff. I'd like to offer you a position. Come be my associate pastor. I want to pass the church on to you in about 3 to 5 years. I want to start traveling, do more apostolic work, all that kind of stuff. And the desire of my heart fell into my lap, and I couldn't believe what was going on. And I had to wait like hours to tell Kristen. I had to wait all night. I was walking from a counseling meeting into a prayer meeting. I had to wait a long time. And I'm in this prayer meeting. I'm walking around, and I said, God, what was that whole Tulsa thing about? And he goes, I just wanted your yes. I just wanted to know that you would do what I've called you to do more than you would want your own comfort or your own idea or your own agenda. And now I can give you the desires of your heart because you gave me your yes. What if you gave God your yes? What if you gave him the ability to think and dream for you, to allow you to be who it is that you're called to be? What if that became it? I mean, we're talking about the selfless, passionate service that releases people into their destiny, people that know how to pray and fast, people that serve God with excellence, people that disciple others until they see the calling on their own life and disciple others too. I've had countless Mordecais in my life. At times when I felt disconnected and felt like I had nothing left and felt like giving up, somebody opened a door for me at a church that I had never gone to before and say, you look like the kind of guy God wants to use. I don't even know that guy's name. Living in a city I'd never lived in before, and somebody said, hey, why don't you come to my house? We'll cook you dinner. Come to our small group. Be a part of what we're doing. And suddenly I realized I was called to that place. Been through these things. Walked through these things. There was a Mordecai waiting in the gate. Today I'm not asking a whole lot of you. I'm not even going to do an altar call. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. There's a bunch of really good people out there at a bunch of tables in that lobby. And now I'm going to challenge you. Be a Mordecai. Go find your spot in the gate. Go figure out if you need to hold a sign or open a door or welcome somebody or help make coffee or be on the worship team or the usher team and collect the offering or help us on the prayer in the altar team or the parking lot. You might be the one that God needs to look in the eye of a guy like me walking in and saying, I can't do ministry anymore. It hurts too much. There's too much pain. There's too much weight to carry, God. I can't do this anymore. You might be the one person waiting at the door that says God still has need of you. Imagine if you found yourself in the gates, Mordecai, for such a time as this. For such a time as this. Man, I love you more than a fat kid loves cake. But I want you to serve God. I want you to walk with God. I want you to pull the call of God out of somebody else as someone pulls the call of God out of you. That's what it is to live for the family of God. That's what it is to be a part of the body of Christ. You want to be a part of the body of Christ? Anybody want to be a part of the body of Christ? Anybody want to live for God? Anybody want to do for someone else what someone's done for you? Here's your challenge today. Get out there, find you a table, get a spot in the gates, and let's see what kind of Esthers walk through the door. It might just be for the deliverance of our city and our region and our state and this nation and the nations of the world. That's what it is to live a life full of victory.
Well, thanks again for joining us at Victory Church Online. As always, we are so thankful for our church community. We invite you to be part of Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. at our Westminster campus or at our Longmont campus at 11 a.m. if you're not already attending Victory regularly. We would love to see you and meet you in person. You can find out all the information you need at victorydenver.com. Have a great week.